Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Atlanta. First of a three-game set between the Marlins and the first-place Atlanta Braves. A good look there at the Battery, a beautiful new ballpark in its second year, SunTrust Park here in Atlanta. Very nice, and of course, Braves fans extremely excited about their club. Then again, some Marlins fans here in town, too. Glad that you're with us. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth. Well, we see the Braves yet again. It's been now two series in about a week.
Well, it certainly has, and not much has changed. You know what? Listen, the Marlins played some good baseball against the Dodgers. They come in with some momentum. They haven't played well on the road this year. They're looking to change that. Guess what? The Braves haven't played so well here, although they have been playing pretty well against the Cubs over the last few days.
Well, speaking of changes, there have been a few to the roster, at least in terms of the pitching staff for the Marlins. Since yesterday's loss to the Los Angeles Dodgers, Tyler Cloyd, who was terrific in that game, was optioned to AAA, designated for assignment Junichi Tozawa, so recalled from New Orleans, Adam Conley and Dylan Peters.
Well, it certainly gives you a couple of left-handers that you're going to be able to use out of that bullpen. Remember, the Atlanta Braves, so much of what they do is left-handed. Freddie Freeman, Albies, right on down, Markakis, got a lot of lefties.
Well, you mentioned Freddie Freeman, and boy, oh boy, Freddie Freeman across the board might be one of the best first basemen in all of baseball. And last week, when these two teams played in Miami, the Marlins saw that firsthand.
Well, they really did. 3 home runs, 9 hits. I mean, we couldn't stop talking about him because he was on base all day long. Well, guess what? He doesn't just do it against the Marlins. He's got a .435 on-base percentage. That's tops in Major League Baseball, and you see what he did. Those are the numbers right there. You've got to find a way to control him. The whole game plan for this Atlanta Braves offense, which has been so good this year, get those two guys in front of him on and let the guy who's the hottest in all of Major League Baseball go to work.
So it's up to Dan Straley to quiet down these Atlanta bats that have won 2 out of 3 from the Chicago Cubs since we last saw the Braves down in Miami. Game 1 from Atlanta is coming up next. It's Straley and it's Matt Whistler on the mound for Atlanta. First pitch coming up in a moment. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By W.B. Mason. Who but W.B. Mason, the official office supply company of the Miami Marlins. By Chevrolet, see your South Florida dealer today. And by your local Toyota dealer, Toyota, let's go places. A good look there at Matt Whistler, who is going to get the start for the Atlanta Braves today. They have jumbled their rotation a little bit, I suppose, in a certain sense, at least with the rain out yesterday. So it's the Marlins lineup tonight. Batting order at the top. You see Prado, you see Realmuto. That has kind of been how it's gone the last 3 or 4 days, outside of yesterday when JT got the day off, a day game after a night game. But so far, so good, as Don Mattingly continues to try to tinker with different things. Miguel Rojas, Lewis Brinson, and of course the pitcher Dan Straley down at the bottom of the order for the Miami Marlins, who are trying to get and stay in the win column. A team that has lost 7 of 10. Not the same can be said for the Atlanta Braves. This team is on fire. Matt Whistler, as I mentioned, recalled from AAA today.
Yeah, Matt Whistler getting his 3rd start of the season. He's pitched primarily as a starter throughout his career. As I said, only his 3rd start this season. He's made 46 big league starts. He's got a .496 ERA over his career. 15 and 22. So again, in a spot start situation tonight. Got a good arm. Fastball, 92, 93 miles an hour.
Looks in for his sign, ready to go. And this 3-game series is underway. A called strike to Martin Prado. This season against the Braves, 3 for 14 with an RBI. He was 0 for 2 yesterday, but was 6 for 24 on the homestand as he continues to get a little bit closer to that Martin Prado that the Marlins have come to know, love, and frankly rely on in the last couple of years.
Well, Martin has got good numbers against the Atlanta Braves over the recent history. Last 12 games against the Braves, near 300, 298. Good numbers here at SunTrust Park as well.
And the 0-2 from Whistler. Swung on and missed. A 3-pitch strikeout to begin the night. So let's take a closer look at Mr. Whistler.
All right, let's go ahead and give you the AutoNation scouting report of Mr. Whistler. Spot start, mentioned it, 3rd start of the season for him here with the Braves, 49th in his career. Tremendous start, his first one against the Mets. Outstanding, came April 19th, 7 innings, only 1 earned run, no walks, 8 Ks. But get this, his next start, which probably explains most of his career, 4/25, April 25th against the Reds. He only went 5 innings and he got knocked around. Didn't even record a strikeout in that start. Favorable numbers. The Marlins have them against him, hitting .350 as a team. They saw him out of the bullpen last year. And the slippery slider, I feel like I'm a little late to this because we've already seen about 3 or 4 of them right there. Slippery slider. He put Prado down with that slider through back-to-back. First pitch to JT. Throws it about 36% of the time. Hitters hitting .133 against that slider this season.
Well, looks like there it was again. 36% sounds like a lot.
Oh, it's a huge number. It's absolutely, especially when he throws it 38% of the time for a strike. And that's the other thing that you got to really key in on. Like, I look back at his 2017 numbers. He threw his slider. Now, of course, he was working out of the bullpen a lot more than he was starting, but he used his slider more than his fastball. He's thrown 3 consecutive to JT already.
That's something that you'll see sometimes, like out of the bullpen. A reliever might do that.
Absolutely. I was very surprised to see that number kind of come back to him even as a starter. He's maybe resequenced his pitches to stick. I mean, that's the idea. Whistler certainly wants to be in the big leagues most of the time.
A foul ball down the left field line. And it's still 1-2 to JT Realmuto. 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter yesterday. He has seen quite a bit of Whistler, in fact, 4 for 8 on the homestand for JT. 9 for 28. It's a .321 average, 3 doubles, couple of home runs, and 4 RBIs. He's been arguably the hottest hitter since coming off the disabled list when the team was in New York about a month ago. Hasn't done much to slow down at all, and this year against Atlanta, a .351 average. Down the right field line, but into the seats. That .351 average, by the way, last 13 games against Atlanta, so spanning back to 2017. You know, as we go through these different ballparks and see all these different teams, every day it's like, oh, JT's good against this team. JT's good against that team. Sounds like he's just a good player. After you keep seeing this, he seems to hit everybody. And that's been, I don't want to call it a conundrum because it's a good problem to have, but figuring out the right spot to put JT Realmuto. And when other guys begin to start hitting the way that Prado has the last week or so, makes life a little bit easier as he works the walk.
Fantastic AB, JT Realmuto. Give you the Braves defensively tonight, brought to you by Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center. Acuna Jr. gets the start in left field, Inciarte in center, Markakis over in right, Batista, Camargo, Albies and Freeman, Tyler Flowers behind the plate for Whistler.
So an 8-pitch at bat for JT Realmuto, which started 0-2. He comes back to work the walk, and now Whistler into the stretch for Starlin Castro. Into that slider. This one misses away. Castro yesterday 0 for 2 on the homestand, a shade under 300. 8 for 27, 5 runs scored, 3 RBIs, had a home run. In fact, that 296 average for Starlin Castro is second among the starters, second behind JT Realmuto. Time now for the Toyota Trend. SunTrust Park, the only active big league park that Starlin Castro doesn't have a hit. There are 34 players who have hit in all of the active 30 ballparks. Perhaps 3 games here to check another one off the list for Starlin Castro, who's down on the count of ball and 2 strikes as they get a check on Realmuto.
Yeah, I think that's going to change at some point, right?
Yeah, it has to. He's too good of a hitter.
That's right. Well,
it's only a year old.
3 games, I'm giving, he'll get it done.
Ballpark's only a year old, and of course he was with the Yankees last year, so. Flowers sets up low and away. And it's fouled back, still 1-2.
You see Whistler pitching backwards a bit. Again, heavy usage of the slider, now incorporating the 4-seam fastball. That fastball straight. As I mentioned, 92, 93. You see an occasional sinker out of his hand. Does have a changeup and curveball. Doesn't use either one of them very often.
Third start for Atlanta this season for Matt Whistler. Was up for a couple against the Mets and the Reds. Sent back down to AAA Gwinnett, but getting a rain out yesterday, and we were driving to the ballpark on the bus trying to figure out who was going to start for Atlanta. So they were shuffling things around a little bit. Thought maybe it would be Newcomb, Sean Newcomb, who was so good on Sunday at Marlins Park. Sounds like Newcomb will go tomorrow. And Julio Teheran on Sunday in the series finale. Ryan Snitker enjoying a very nice start for the Atlanta Braves this year. 26-16, a half game up on the Philadelphia Phillies in the National League East at the start of play today. Swung on and missed. Chase that slider. And they're 2 away.
Whistler able to add and subtract to that slider. There's some serious separation. I think it's what makes his slider maybe a little bit better. Throws at about 83 miles an hour. That fastball usually sits at 93. Usually when you talk secondary pitches like sliders, we're usually in that 85 to 86 range. And you see right now the Marlins hitters really trying to battle and see that slider.
Justin Bohr takes a called strike. 0 for 4 yesterday, but 5 for 18. 3 runs scored, couple of home runs, and 5 RBIs on the homestand. 9 homers, 23 ribbies for Justin Bohr. Tops on the club.
Well, JB loves the Braves. More homers and RBIs versus the Braves than any other team in baseball. It's pretty outstanding stuff right there. 301 average, solid numbers, 47 games.
Couple of strikeouts already in this inning for Matt Wisler. Also a walk to JT Realmuto. The 0-2 to Bohr is grounded foul. So he's in the mid-90s with the fastball, and you mentioned the maybe slower velocity on the slider. So when he actually goes to the fastball, you see slider, slider, slider. When he actually goes, he's got to get on you.
You're right. He's got to get his fastball to play up. More of the time, he doesn't throw the sinker very often. It's really the four-seam fastball, and if he were to try to live on that four-seam fastball, he'd be in trouble.
Runner bluffs. This one is popped up and into the seats. Still 0-2.
And I think that's why you see him pitching backwards an awful lot, is again, what pitch is he trying to play off of? Again, that's the idea. You see a guy come out with his fastball, good fastball command. He's trying to trick a hitter with his secondary pitches if he gets ahead. 1-2, 0-2. I'm trying to bury you, change your eyes, change your depth perception at home plate. In this case, he likes to work backwards. He wants to get his fastball to play up a little bit more.
Flowers set up way outside there. He hit the target, but he was just about in the other batter's box. Ball and 2 strikes.
Now the number I gave you, key number 3, slippery slider. Hitter's only hitting 133 against the slider. The fastball hitting up near 333.
Swung on and missed. 3 strikeouts in a 24-pitch first inning for Matt Wisler. When we come back, Ozzie Albies at the top of a lot of offensive categories. He leads it off for the Braves next. Set here at SunTrust Park. A scoreless first for Miami, and now Dan Straley hopes to do the same thing to Ozzie Albies and the Atlanta Braves. This team is stacked offensively, that much we know. A +59 run differential, the 4th highest since the Braves moved to Atlanta, at least through 42 games. This team has been on a roll as of late. Frankly, as I mentioned before, the whole season. They've got a National League best record. 26 up, 16 down, in first place in the National League East. So Dan Straley going to try to quiet these bats of the Bravos.
Well, Dan Straley's coming off a pretty good start against this Atlanta Braves team. His last start, 5 innings, 3 hits, couple earned runs, 5 strikeouts, 102 pitches. What stood out in the last start for me in Dan Straley, great balance. He was trusting the changeup, trusting the slider. They're good pitches for him. They've got to be effective. He threw 51 fastballs, 24 changeups, 27 sliders. So a good balance and a good mix. You talk about the lefty hitters in this Braves lineup that can do damage. Albies, for example, has got a couple homers against Dan Straley. The last 3 starts against Atlanta, 2.65 ERA for Dan.
Well, Albies just 3 for 20, as you saw in the series against the Marlins in Miami last week. 2 of his hits were home runs. 1 was a grand slam. 2 homers, 6 RBIs in that series. And he homered against Dan Straley.
Yeah, well, and that pitch is in off the plate. That really just shows you the skill set of Albies, what he can cover and what he can get to.
Well, Albies on in the first inning. He's done a lot of damage, as has this club in the first inning.
Let's give you the Marlins defensively for tonight's ball game, brought to you by Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center. Here you go. Dietrich gets the start in left field. Brinson in center. Ryan Anderson, as always, out in right field. Prado, Rojas, Castro, and Moore. That's your infield. JT Realmuto behind the plate for Dan Straley. Now, you got to be careful of this Braves team. 40 runs in the first inning. 12 home runs as well. Both tops in baseball. Check that. Home runs is second. The runs is first. The home runs is second. We've got an offensive machine right now.
Ronald Acuna Jr., 4 homers, 8 RBIs. He's 3 for 16 with 3 walks in the series in Miami. 3 for 7 with a home run since coming back home. It was an interesting little week, you know, like what were you doing since we last saw you? Well, Atlanta went from Miami to Chicago for a makeup date against the Chicago Cubs. Those teams then went to Atlanta. They came here, slated to play a 3-game series. They split the first 2 and got rained out last night. So that's what's got to be tough, right? When you don't play the other divisions. Not like the Marlins and the Braves will see each other 1,000 times this year. There's plenty of time for makeup dates. Now you start getting into mutual off days and things of that nature.
And I think it's been pushed all the way to late August. Makeup date.
Acuna Jr. out to center field. Brinson will make the catch on the edge of the track, and there is 1 away. So in steps Freddie Freeman. Marlins started at taking batting practice. They got through about a group and a half of BP, and then all of a sudden, here come the grounds crew. They said, get off the cage. We're moving it. They clear that thing out. The tarp comes out for, I don't know, about 45 minutes or so, but 78 degrees right now. Beautiful night to this point. Heard rumblings, not thunder rumblings, but perhaps rumblings of thunder later. Maybe around 9 o'clock or so, but we'll see how it goes. Ball and no strikes to Freeman, who lines one out to right field. Brian Anderson is there, and there are 2 away. At least for 1 at bat tonight. They figured out Freeman was 9 for 15 in Miami.
But in hitter's terms, he did what he was supposed to do. Well, Marlins will take it. You hit a line drive, you make the catch, you move on. That's exactly what you do. Freddie Freeman, a .424 batting average in the first inning. So take a deep breath and continue on. Yeah, this Braves lineup, 26 runs in the series in Miami. 8 home runs. They took 3 of 4. They're going to be a tough team to contend with, not just for the Marlins, but for the National League East. I think they're starting to gain national exposure and attention for their solid play. 26 and 16. That's tops in the National League.
Nick Markakis out to left field, and a base hit. Should come as no surprise. He is 11. Check that, a .333 average, second best in the National League. 50 now, 7 hits for Nick Markakis. Ryan And Snitker, right now that's the game face, but he's got to be happy with what he has seen from this club and what he has seen from Nick Markakis this year in the last year of his contract. 2 on and 2 out now for Tyler Flowers.
Flowers back off the disabled list just last week. Since his return, 9 for 28. Got a home run as well. Starting to swing the bat.
Yeah, missed 23 games with a left oblique strain, so that opened the door for Kurt Suzuki. Was off to a good start for the Atlanta Braves. You look up and down this lineup, and Don Mattingly talked about it before the game. There are not many holes. You know, I mean, you could sit there and say, all right, well, they got a nice 1-2 punch. They've got Albies and they've got Acuna. Yeah, okay, but then there's Freeman, and then there's Markakis, and now either one of the 2 catchers, they seem to be hitting right now. Ender Inciarte has been red hot for a good portion of this entire season.
Well, he's a different dynamic too, and you look at how they're constructed. You know, with Inciarte and the stolen bases and the speed factor that he brings to the table, finds himself in the middle of the lineup. The Braves are probably going to get Dansby Swanson back at some point this weekend as well.
Could be as early as tomorrow.
He's off to a pretty decent start. But yeah, you're right. This Braves offense is rolling this year, and I think it's you know, you're to the point of the season where maybe the numbers tick back just a little bit, and you say, oh well, that's a hot start, but hard for me to believe that there's going to be some form of a stop. This is a team that's been averaging well over 5 runs a ball game this season.
In the National League, first in average, first in runs per game, third in homers, first in on-base percentage. Yeah, you don't do that with, a good 3-4 hitter. Right? You do that
well, and that's the point,
with
right?
Depth.
Steal bases, take the extra base, run well.
2-2 from Straley to Flowers is line foul down the left field side. Inning started with a walk to Ozzie Albies. Acuna Jr. and Freeman both flew out, and then Markakis the base hit. Too short. Rojas spins and throws, and they get the out at second base. The Braves, it seems so good at scoring with 2 outs, unable to do so in the first. bit, but patrolled center field for the Atlanta Braves for so long. I mean, in his prime, was there a better center fielder?
I played with him in his prime. Awesome. Tremendous power. Now, he had changed a little bit. I think he was more, just to be fair, a little bit more dynamic when he was a little bit younger. He put on some pounds. I mean, he still got to every ball in center field, but he became kind of the modern day slugger when he was hitting 40+ home runs a season and kind of doing that. When he first got to the big leagues, he could not only track it down in center field and hit for some power, he could steal a base as well.
Of course, in '96 had the 2 home runs in Game 1 of the World Series. A member of the Braves Hall of Fame. To the top of the second we go. Brian Anderson will lead things off. And he takes a called strike. It's Anderson, Dietrich, and Rojas due up for the Marlins. Tie game, top of the second inning. First of a 3-game set between these two clubs. Matt Wisler after a 24-pitch first inning.
Well, those 24 pitches turned into 3 strikeouts and a walk. You feel like when you're watching Whistler, you're you know, as a hitter speaking here, you're trying to lock in on the combination, right? Comes out, throws a couple of fastballs to Brian Anderson right out of the chute. What did we see in the first inning? Nothing but sliders for the most part. I mentioned the 24 pitches. He threw 15 sliders.
Now 2 balls and 2 strikes to Anderson, who was 0 for 4 yesterday. 7 for 26 on the homestand. Scored 4 runs, couple of doubles, 3 RBIs. He was on base in 12 consecutive games. That string was snapped yesterday against the Dodgers. Of course, the Marlins had a tough time doing much of anything against Kenta Maeda. Had 8 terrific innings. The Marlins come in having taken 2 of 3 from the Dodgers, so they are fresh off a series win against LA. They renew acquaintances with the Braves. Ground ball through the left side past the dive of Jose Bautista. There's a base hit for Brian Anderson to begin the second. So that'll bring up Derek Dietrich. He knows a thing or two about Matt Wisler. As we flash you back. A home run to the right center field. Straightaway right over the head of Nick Markakis. 2015 at Turner Field.
How about some good numbers for Dietrich here at SunTrust Park? 7 for 20 last year. Double and a home run here as well.
Got a piece. 1 for 3 yesterday with a double. 6 for 18 on the homestand. A couple of doubles, 3 RBIs. Those are the numbers here at SunTrust Park. The 0-1 is fouled away. When Wisler gets a runner on base, as he did in the first inning when he walked the second hitter, JT Realmuto, the pace slows quite a bit. Keeps a close eye on the runner.
You know, you look at his arsenal and you say, okay, fastball, sinker, slider, curveball, change. You say, oh, he throws 5 pitches. Listen, we've seen what we've seen, and we certainly know what we learned last year from him, seeing him out of the bullpen. He's, for the most part, talking 85–90%, 2 pitches, slider and fastball.
Dietrich, soft little looper over to Camargo at short, and there is 1 away.
When you have that type of sequencing, you've got to be very, very careful. And again, he does a pretty decent job of controlling the running game. I mean, he doesn't have any kind of, crazy numbers against him. But the point is that he can't get away from that. I think, you look at his 2 starts this year, and it tells you an awful lot. If the slider's working, like he went up against the Mets, And you'd say, well, my goodness gracious, that was some dominant stuff. Great numbers against the Mets. 7 solid innings, only the 1 earned run, no walks, and he ends up getting the win and strikes out 8. You follow that up against the Reds, and it's the opposite. No decision, 5 innings, 9 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, no strikeouts against the Reds.
The Reds, who all of a sudden are like baseball's hottest team right about now. It's amazing.
Right. I mean, they've got a great offense. I don't think there's any debate there, but to have your numbers kind of like break up that way explains his career. Comes in with a .497 career ERA as a starter.
He's been up and down for this organization. A 1-0 to Miguel Rojas to right field and foul. Rojas, though, one of the hotter hitters for the Marlins. 346 with 3 extra base hits and 5 RBIs in his last 8 games.
So fun to watch Miguel hit. He has developed over the last year a game plan, and you can almost see it unfold each and every night. You know, what his idea is. Does he want to stay inside the baseball? Is he going to try and go the other way? Every now and again you'll watch him. He'll pick a guy if he believes he's going to get challenged on the inside part of the plate, looking for a fastball, maybe try to pull. That's why you've seen his power this year. Last year it was basically stay inside of everything and hope he gets a hit to maybe center fielder to right. Game plan has entirely changed this year. He's got a good idea of what he wants to do each and every time he goes up there.
Yeah, the 5 home runs, a career high. In fact, only had 4 career home runs in his entire career.
Well, he doesn't possess opposite field type power, so when you say 5 home runs, I mean, it's clearly to the pull side.
This one chopped to short. Camargo flips to Albies and over to Freeman for the inning-ending double play. Through an inning and a half, still scoreless.
Every player has a role model that they look up to, and for Ender Inciarte, that was his dad, Astolfo, who played baseball in Venezuela. He even wears the number 11 after the memory of his father. Now, everything that Ender does, he does to honor the memory of his father, and he told me today that the most important lessons he learned, number 1, to always stay humble, number 2, to always have fun, to just enjoy the game. So, guys, that's the mentality that he carries onto the field every day.
Jessica, thanks so much. Yeah, of course, it's not always fun to watch him play when he's doing what he did in the series in Miami, 7 for 16, couple of home runs, but really emerging as one of the better center fielders in the game.
He's a great defensive player, and when you look at foot speed and some other things that kind of get into Inciarte's story, you really start to appreciate his instincts for the game of baseball, and I think that's where you look at that story that we just heard and understand how it's been groomed in him or born into him.
A quick strikeout of Inciarte for Dan Straley, who left a couple of runners aboard in that first inning. Of course, so many 2-out runs scored by the Braves in the series last week in Miami. But that was not necessarily a Marlins thing as much as it has been a Braves thing. That's been really one of their things this year, has been they just do not say die. You've got to earn all 3 outs. This team just continues to head to the bat rack with 2 outs as Bautista fouls it back.
Now, the one thing that stands out, we talked about this during the 4-game series in Miami, and watching the Braves go about their business, is their approach with 2 strikes. I mean, they shorten up, they put the ball in play. They're not a group that hits for a ton of home runs and doesn't make an adjustment as the game goes on, or handle off-speed pitches a little differently. As a group, they've done a very nice job this year of cutting down their strikeouts. They're one of the top teams in the National League with fewest strikeouts.
No swing there, says first base umpire Gabe Morales. Roberto Ortiz is at second tonight, Ed Hickok's at third, and Jerry Meals, the crew chief, is behind home plate. 3-2 now to Bautista. Chops that one foul. Bautista 1 for 9, a home run, 2 RBIs in the series in Miami. Just 5 for 32 in 11 games with the Braves after he made his Atlanta debut on May 4th. They signed him to a minor league contract. Back to Straley, 2-away.
Come join us at the Clevelander Marlins Park on Saturday, May 26th. Sample more than 20 different domestic and international brews. Tickets start at just $30 when the Marlins take on the Nationals. Plus, you'll get early access to the party at the Clevelander Marlins Park. Purchase your tickets at marlins.com/beerfest.
Well, here's Johan Camargo at shortstop again tonight. He's been there in the absence of Dansby Swanson, who sounds like he is right on the doorstep of returning to the Atlanta Braves. This one lined out to right field, and Anderson's not going to get there, but cuts it off before it gets to the wall. Here comes the throw in from the corner to second. Safe. Wow.
How many games we got Anderson in right field now? I mean, he's not even up to the teens yet, is he? Are you kidding me?
It's been fun to watch. I know that.
Hard into the corner, cuts it off before it gets to the warning track. That gives him an opportunity to make this incredible throw that is just, wow, 2 steps, 2 feet to the wrong side of the bagger. He makes one of the best defensive plays this year.
Well, he might still have, because it looks like the Marlins are going to challenge this call. And I got him out right there.
He came off the bag.
Came off the bag. So for whatever my opinions are worth, I think he's out.
Do we have a demo den in Atlanta? We don't. Darn it.
Yeah, 17 games in right field for Brian Anderson.
So he is in the teens.
He is in the teens.
Well, he made it look like he's in the high hundreds. That was as professional a play as you're going to get. Great read on the angle. That's what I love to talk about. It's not just that he cuts off the ball. He's got to be right on when he cuts the ball off. Beautiful.
Well, this is a wonderful choice of music here, as I think people in the ballpark see what we see, and you hear "Let It Be" played on the loudspeaker.
No, I think they just saw it. That was the
maybe that was the okay. All right.
There you go.
And
yes,
it is
sir.
In fact, out. So gets credit for a base hit, does Camargo, but a 9-6 put out to end the inning. Anderson, Brinson, they got him. He's out. ball. This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Miami Marlins and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins. So Lewis Brinson to lead things off. Brinson, Straley, and Prado 8, 9, and 1 against Matt Whistler here in the third. A called strike to Brinson. 30 putouts, 2 assists. Tonight he's got 1 of each. Just the effort to get to it, and so that's the thing about it. Sometimes the throw will get some of the attention, but if you know what you're looking for, and I know you do because you can't even sit still.
I can't. I'm telling you, I'm so excited. It was just such a great play. Like the margin, that's what people don't. I hope people can grasp and understand. Even getting the privilege to talk about it. The margin, the route run, the fielding of the baseball. If he surrenders, let's say 2 more steps towards the wall, he doesn't get him at second base. If he misreads his run, his route, he's off by a half a second. If that throws 1 more foot wide, he's safe at second. I mean, everything had to be what it was, but watch the throw. The throw is what is amazing to me because he's standing on the warning track. Cannon.
Seen a very strong arm as Brinson out to dead center field, but Inciarte is back there to make the catch for the first out.
All right, I won't ask for this anymore, but let's see it just one more time. Okay, here we go. Watch this. This is what I'm talking about. The route. See, right to the baseball, gives up a couple of steps, so he's right in front of the track, and then the quick release and the strong arm. Let's not forget, Camargo can run. I mean, this isn't somebody that's like, thinking about going for a double, and it's a slow guy around first base. You're talking about one of the flyers. Great throw, great play. So much fun to see.
So 1 out for Dan Straley. Takes a look at the first pitch. Let me ask you this, because there was a play last week where his quote-unquote infield instincts took over.
Right.
There was a little looping ball down the line.
Backed up away from him, right.
And he tried to grab it with his bare hand,
right?
And he said after the game that was probably just my infield instincts taking over. Do you think that there were some infield instincts as a third baseman there, almost to go over and cut off any ball that you can get to, cutting off the shortstop, as opposed to maybe, and certainly correct me if I'm wrong, some other right fielders might just play that one off the wall?
Well, that may be the case just based on their skill set or their athleticism. But Brian, I think what we're learning about Brian Anderson, and a lot of times what happens to infielders is they kind of get bottled up because they're playing, I don't want to dare say a stationary position. We see athleticism up the middle, but when you're on the corner, you don't always get to see it as much.
Step in a dive.
Yeah, well, right. I mean, what we're seeing in him in right field right now is the true athlete. I mean, from the minute he's been out there, he has caught ball. How about the catch, full extension catch? We saw, what was it, a second, third game that he was out there?
Yeah.
That play right there is going in the opposite direction. What I'm talking about is that he possesses the instincts. The first thing I think of, and I certainly, listen, I'm not one, I'm not trying to get out ahead of this, but like, he's a really good third baseman, but he's a really good right fielder. And you know, when a young man's career starts to develop, you start to visualize where players are going to be long-term for your organization. And I'm telling you right now, he's carrying 2 positions in his back pocket. That's a great thing for an organization. You know that you've got a really good right fielder and you got a really good third baseman in one person.
Well, that's one thing, like it's one thing if a player like Anderson is moved away from third because a guy like Prado comes back and he's out there in right field and he's a butcher. But at least his bat's in the lineup. It's not been the case at all. He has turned out to be, at least to this point, a terrific right fielder. And again, talking with Freddie Gonzalez, who's done so much work.
Right, he needs to get an awful lot of credit for that. I know I haven't really said it. We certainly obviously give it a lot of it to the player themselves, but Freddie has been working out there tirelessly with him to help him understand, like what we just saw, cutting a ball off, understanding how to get into position.
Prado out to left field. Acuna Jr. is there to make the catch. A 1-2-3 third for the Marlins. We go to the last of the third here in Atlanta. Live on your mobile device with Fox Sports Go, presented by T-Mobile. Download the app and take Fox Sports Florida and Marlins baseball wherever you go. Glad you're with us on a Friday night. First of 3 between the Marlins and the Braves. Matt Whistler to lead things off against Dan Straley, who delivers a called strike. Whistler, Albies, and Acuna Jr. 9-1-2 due up for the Braves here in the third. Quickly 0-2. Well, just again 2 pitches into the third inning, but Straley seems as though he has been pounding the zone, getting on the bump, throwing, getting on the bump, throwing. And he gets the strikeout, his second of the night. Whistler is retired.
Well, why don't we talk a little progression, right? With Dan Straley, we've seen it throughout his starts this year. Got a little bit better from first start to the second start to his last start, which was 5 innings, and he battled this Braves team. We told you how good they were offensively coming into Miami. Looks even better tonight, doubling up on a team. And this is a dangerous spot to be in. I have always seen it this way. Boy, you give back-to-back starts to a team, to an offense, and any weakness you've got, it's going to be exposed. Dan has been spot on. His command has been even better tonight.
So is that almost an easier day for an offense, an easier prep for it, because you don't have to watch video? There are no starts in between. You just saw them.
These are dangerous starts for starters. I've always said that. Well, of course, it's the game of baseball, so I mean, there's no guarantees. But generally speaking, when you've gone out there, unless you can drastically change your game plan, which very few guys can, maybe you resequence your pitches. The idea is that whatever you did, they just saw you do it. Whether, you know, we talk, well, hey, everybody, he threw 70 fastballs. Well, if he had success, what do you think he's going to do the next start, right? He's going to throw 70 fastballs unless he gets forced off out of that game plan.
And the hitters know what the fastball looks like. They know what the shape of a pitcher's curveball looks like, the tilt on the slider, all that stuff.
Well, I think the great thing about Dan Straley's start tonight is that his stuff so far, and again, like you said, it is a little bit early. We're only talking bottom 3 here, but my point would be this: his slider's got a little bit more bite. His fastball seems like it's got a few more rotations on it, if you know what I'm saying. He's kind of hitting the top of the zone with it, and he's getting some swing and misses. Okay, he's a pretty good example, right? 92 out of his hand. There's no doubt, but remember, he's only making his 4th start now, and this is kind of like his spring training, right? So he's getting better with each start.
3rd strikeout for Straley and 2nd of the inning. Well, in terms of the back-to-back starts against the same opponent, he's done it 3 times in his career. All back in 2013 when he was with Oakland. 1-1 with a 4.12 ERA in the back end of those matchups. 15 hits, 4 walks, 13 strikeouts. As Acuna Jr. is down on the count 0-1. And he had success in the front end of those games. So a 4.12 ERA in the second starts, 3.63 ERA in the first starts.
Yeah, it's a little regression. It's very common. I mean, I wasn't saying necessarily that it turns into a blow-up start, but
of course,
just the common denominators. I say this all the time. It's a fun fact that people realize this, but you watch postseason baseball this way. Think about the dynamic when we get to the postseason. We start talking about 7-game series, right? 5, 6, 7-game series. You know each other inside and out, upside down, and everybody's probably completely fatigued because you've just gone through an incredibly long season. So it is so much fun to watch postseason baseball for a lot of those reasons.
Yeah, a battle of attrition.
That's right. And a vulnerability.
Inside to Acuna Jr., who flew out to Brinson back in the 1st inning. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. And now the count runs full. The youngest player in baseball Swings and sends this one out to center field. Brinson back and right about to the same spot as the first fly out. A 1-2-3 third for Straley. Still scoreless.
Fantastic deal on May 25th when the Marlins take on the Nationals at 7:10. Tickets start at just $30. Get your tickets at marlins.com/burger.
Paul Severino, Todd Hollandsworth back with you to the top of the fourth. JT Realmuto, Starlin Castro, and Justin Bohr due up for the Marlins against Matt Whistler. Squares to bunt, pulls it back, takes ball one. Realmuto walked in the first inning. A first inning where Whistler struck out 3. He has 4 strikeouts to this point. This is his second stint with the Braves in 2018. His third start with Atlanta as well, as we mentioned, but 69 games, 48 starts with Atlanta over the past 3 years. (16-22), a 5.20 ERA. Of course, he wasn't always an Atlanta Brave, however. Came over from the San Diego Padres. It was their 7th round pick back in 2011. Traded to the Braves in April of 2015. Hustling down the line, Realmuto out by a step, and there is one away. Fastest catcher in baseball, JT Realmuto, is unable to beat the strong throw from Whistler, and there is the first out.
The first time through this lineup, Whistler did not have to contend with much hard contact. Used the slider pretty effectively. In fact, he's been throwing a lot of first pitch strikes, 8 of them, 7 were called. Getting ahead of hitters.
Starlin Castro, one of those 3 first inning strikeout victims, takes upstairs, ball 1. Out to center, and Ciarte in a few steps. 2 away.
FPL is proud to support our first responders in good weather and bad. See how at FPL.com.
A couple of quick outs in this inning for Whistler, who's up to 53 pitches through 3 2/3. struck out swinging. All 4 of the strikeouts swinging against Whistler. 25-year-old. This one lined into right field. A base hit for Bohr.
Nice swing by the big guy. First pitch fastball. Best way to not to have to contend with a slider is don't miss the fastball. Certainly did that.
Second game of a 3-game set tomorrow. Marlins Live, the pregame show, presented by your South Florida Honda dealers. Don Mattingly, and a little chat with him. We just saw Jose Urena, who will get the ball against Sean Newcomb for the Atlanta Braves. And Newcomb's so good on Sunday afternoon, Mother's Day Sunday. That one is outside to Brian Anderson. Anderson, a base hit back in the 2nd inning. Grounds this one to Camargo at short, flips to second to go the short way, and we are through 3.5 here at SunTrust Park. Still scoreless. To hide. Cleveland Clinic, stiff joints, aches, and pains. Trust Cleveland Clinic, Florida, the #1 orthopedic care in Florida. And by the Lincoln Spring Sales Event. Drive into spring in a new Lincoln. Beautiful night here at SunTrust Park. First of a 3-game series between these two NL East rivals. As Dan Straley's first pitch to Freddie Freeman is outside. 3, 4, and 5 due up for the Braves here in the 4th. Freeman, Markakis, and Tyler Flowers. Don Mattingly said before the game of Dan Straley, Straley is working his way back, as we have talked about up here tonight. Of course, was ready to roll, ready for the season to begin. Had that little forearm issue. Clearly, nothing major, thankfully, as he's back at this point of the season. But, 4th start after the setback, Don Mattingly said, you lose a little bit of your rhythm. It takes time to get back. He has been back at least through the first 3 innings of work tonight. The 3-0 now to Freeman is inside and a leadoff walk. Holly, you mentioned it last inning that Straley was on the mound, and if I wasn't impressed with your eyes before, I certainly am now. You said, boy, it seems like balls.
He's spinning it.
Yeah,
he's got a little bit more.
So I looked it up. His average spin rate on the 4-seam fastball last time out against these same Braves, 22.52. Today, 23.10.
Yeah, you can see it. I mean, there's no doubt. When you're pumping it by some of these Braves hitters, and again, you know, we see every day. We just saw the Atlanta Braves just a few games ago. You can tell, you know, who's hot, who's not, who's on fastballs, who's not. And when that storyline starts to change, even that first time through, you know something's different. So then what has changed? Well, in most cases, it's not the hitter. It's usually the pitcher. What has he done? Has he got a little bit more on the sliders, or a little bit more on the fastball at the top of the zone? A few more rotations that you can see. He's got some more bite tonight, no doubt.
Gave up a hit to Nick Markakis back in the first inning. Time for the Florida Lottery in-game jackpot. A guy who doesn't strike out much. The strikeout rate, plate appearances per strikeout. So every 11 plate appearances, Nick Markakis strikes out. That's the best rate in the National League. Miguel Rojas not far behind. But they start for Corey Dickerson in Pittsburgh, by the way. And another hit for Nick Markakis. Brinson going to cut this one off in the gap, but over to second goes Markakis, and in there safely. Freeman to third, and the Braves in business here in the fourth.
Now Markakis, I'll tell you what, first 6 weeks of this season, he has been a line drive machine. Doesn't matter who it is on the mound, doesn't matter how hard you throw, doesn't matter whether you're a lefty, a righty, he is on it. Line to line. Just fouled one off down the right field line, now shoots the center field gap. They let him played over.
11th double for Nick Markakis. And again, that should come as zero surprise. 5th on the active doubles list. So now Tyler Flowers. Braves had 2 men on in the first inning. That was with 2 outs, and he got Flowers to ground into a fielder's choice. A little defensive help to face 3 batters in the second. The nice play by Brian Anderson in right field, and then a 1-2-3 third inning. So some trouble here for Straley, as that one misses inside to Flowers, and out to the mound goes Realmuto.
Well, that fantastic accuracy that we saw first time through the lineup has gotten away from Dan Straley here in the 4th inning. It started with Freddie Freeman. He was just spraying it all over the place. Uncharacteristically, after what we saw the first time through, saw good sliders right where they were supposed to be, just almost hitting JT wherever he put the glove up. And since the Freeman at bat, which has basically been 2, he's been a little off. He's falling behind Flowers now. This is not the lineup you want to fall behind. Make you pay quick. It was game 2 that we saw a very tight ball game turn in the span of 3 pitches.
Two 2-0 after the meeting on the mound, misses upstairs. 3 balls and no strikes to Flowers. He was 2 for 3, a couple of walks and an RBI in the series in Miami. Made a bid for a base hit tonight back in the first inning. Miguel Rojas, a nice play to get to it, take away a hit, and end the inning. Now the 3-0 pitch is a strike.
A little help on the edge. Let's see if Dan can do something with that. It's off the outside corner. Shot by JT, pulling it back into the zone.
Why do they score so many runs? Because they come through in situations like this.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder about these numbers, man. I mean, it's like, where isn't Atlanta on the top, right?
I don't think this is going to be a hit. Brinson doesn't see it, and Anderson falls down. It's a good thing Castro's there. A bluff at third by Freeman. Yeah, I don't think Brinson saw it, and then Anderson lost his footing, so it is a blessing that Castro didn't give up on that play.
Yeah, Brinson doesn't have it. You see him put his arms up. It's actually a good sign. infielder know that you don't see the baseball.
A big first out. And Inciarte is going to be walked intentionally to load the bases for Jose Bautista and set up a force anywhere, and also get the double play back in order. Officially the third walk of the night for Dan Straley. Five career grand slams for Jose Bautista. Excuse me, swing is fouled off. Tapper back to the mound in the second inning for Bautista. 0 for 1 tonight. Yet hitting 152 on the season.
That was a highly effective pitch. That first pitch, a slider, 85 miles an hour on the outside corner, had Bautista fooled. He was sitting dead red.
Big spot for Straley here with the bases loaded and 1 out. Here is the 0-2 pitch upstairs. Well, if you've ever watched Jose Bautista, he doesn't like that.
Now 2 sliders away. This was a misfire on Dan. He's been a little erratic this inning, no doubt about it. JT wanted the ball up, but out and away and up. It's ended up on the inside part. Moves the ball down now.
Swung on and missed. A big strikeout for Straley. That's his 4th, and there are 2 away.
A nice job by Dan Straley getting it there. That is hitting the target. JT wanted it up. He set up and he hit the target. Well done. 2 sliders down. As Bautista thinking about the slider, it'll blow 91 by him.
Now Johan Camargo. Yeah, I've seen that a few times in Bautista's career. He'll get like a little bow tie like he got from Straley, and it's almost like he digs in deeper and he is ready to roll. And he puts him into orbit sometimes. Thankfully, he did not do it right there. Straley steps off before delivering to Camargo, who had the base hit to right field back in the second inning. Ball that was cut off before it got to the wall by Brian Anderson. A nice job to keep it from getting to the wall, and then a strong strike to second base. And after a review, Camargo out at second. Takes a called strike on the inside corner. 0-1. Freeman at third. He led off the inning with a walk, a double for Markakis. Flowers popped up, an intentional walk to load the bases. Inciarte is over at first. And the strikeout of Bautista. One to Camargo. This is low and away. 2-1. This will be the 20th pitch of the inning for Dan Straley. Out to center field. Brinson going back. And has it for the 3rd out. A nice job by Dan Straley. Had 2 on, nobody out. Bases loaded, 1 out. Excellent work. Scoreless through 4. For this day in Marlins history, presented to you by Geico. We'll take you back to May 18th of the year 2000. Padres won the game 6-2, but the Marlins, 10 stolen bases. Luis Castillo and the speedy Cliff Floyd, 3 each.
I mean, everybody's asking, I mean, we're all thinking the same thing, right? Only 2 runs?
I guess so.
Well, like if you just add up the 10 stolen bases, that should be 2 runs. Over 2 runs.
Yeah, I'd have to look back. That's pretty much the extent of my prep today. It's not looking back at the box score from May 18th, 2000. But yeah, you'd have to look and see how many other base runners that they had that day. 3 each, that's 6, so there are 4 other stolen bases. Huh. Well, if you need me, I'll be down that rabbit hole the next 20 minutes. Derek Dietrich to lead things off. Miguel Rojas and Lewis Brinson against Whistler here in the 5th.
Dietrich, a soft line drive, second.
Strike from Whistler. Mentioned the 2 starts with the Atlanta Braves for Whistler. A couple of days after that second one, he went back down to Gwinnett. Was 1-1 with an even 5 ERA as Dietrich skies this one. Right side of the infield, going to be Albies for the first out. So here is Miguel Rojas, grounded into a double play back in the 2nd inning. Boy, did that ever stick in the Marlins side the last time these 2 teams played in Miami. In that series, Miami hit into 6 double plays, 4 of which in the 2nd game of that 4-game set. It just seemed like anytime they had a rally going, the Braves, they had an answer for it. The pitcher's best friend. Somehow found a way to win that game. That's baseball.
Certainly is, no doubt. I'll tell you what, Marlins are having a hard time with Whistler's slider tonight. He's added and subtracted, put it where he wanted almost all night long.
Tries it again. Ball and 2 strikes to Miguel Rojas. Takes upstairs, and it's 2-2. Well, just as the case was with Nick Markakis, Rojas, one of the hardest men to strike out. Lowest strikeout percentage, 3rd lowest strikeout percentage, that is, in the National League. I think Flowers thought that was strike 3. Kind of had that hop like he was ready to throw it down to Bautista right there.
I think Whistler did as well. There's been a few tonight that have been borderline. Both sides.
.66 pitches for Whistler. One walk, 4 strikeouts as Rojas stays alive, lining one down the right field side.
You mentioned Rojas' strikeout rate. It's a pretty good example right now of why he doesn't strike out very much. Shortens up, stays inside the baseball as well as anybody. Look at the numbers with the full count on him. 23 plate appearances, more walks than strikeouts. That's pretty impressive. Very keen eye at home as well.
with this internet thing. You know, have you heard of this? The internet?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not that hard to find a box score from 2000.
Wow, you found it already.
I did. And I know that folks at home are waiting with bated breath to figure out.
I felt like this is a pretty realistic question, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely.
10 stolen bases, only 2 runs. Like, what happened in that game? They must have hit into a bunch of double plays.
One step at a time, Captain.
I get excited, you know.
All right. Rojas, by the way, works the walk, so he is aboard with 1 out. That'll bring up Lewis Brinson. So Castillo had 3 steals. Cliff Floyd had 3 steals. Mark Kotze had 2. Preston Wilson had 1. That it? 3, 6.
Whole team was on base.
Oh, Preston Wilson had 2 too. Yeah. So 4 guys had multiple steals that day. Double play, they grounded into 1.
Well, that's not the answer.
Outside to Brinson.
There must have been some serious 2-out rallies that fizzled.
2-out RBI. Well, that wouldn't tell you right here. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go back and watch the condensed game. I'll write you a 2-page report before tomorrow.
With every question you give me, I'm developing more questions.
You're so inquisitive.
I'm sorry.
What's the matter?
Well, I'm just trying to get to the answer. Since you're the one who looked it up, I figured I might as well keep going.
Rojas on the move. Flowers down to second. Got him. Rojas says no. We'll see if the Marlins take a closer look.
Tyler Flowers, 1 caught stealing, 1 stolen base against him this season. Not many have tried to run on him. Oh, he's got a pretty decent jump. You see, head first slide, back edge. Everything done well. Just got to see where the tag was and where the hand was. This might be the angle here. Of course it's not.
Again, the ruling on the field was out, but the Marlins not going to challenge. So 2 away after the caught stealing. Two 2-0 to Brinson. Flew out to center field. Back in the 3rd. Hitters count for Brinson. And now 3-0. Brinson 0 for 3 yesterday, but a hit in 13 of his last 20 games since April 24th. On the ground to Bautista, gets a favorable hop and delivers a strike to Freddie Freeman. Through 4.5 in Atlanta, still scoreless.
Scoreless ball game as we head to the bottom of the fifth. Hey, anytime that I can hang out with some Marlins fans on the road, I am going to take advantage of that opportunity. And this is such a cool family over here. This is Michael and his wife, Terry, and multiple family members. Now, they're here celebrating Mike's 70th birthday. But Terry, I know when you were planning this, there was a little bit of a surprise element to it. How did you surprise Michael with this trip?
Well, we flew in today, and as we were driving up to the hotel, my children and my grandchildren were all standing outside with the faces of Michael and with signs. And my husband is in the car, and he's looking, and he says, "Doesn't that look like my daughter?" And I didn't say anything, and he's like, not sure what's going on. And he was shocked. It was perfect. We really surprised him.
And it's great. It's wonderful having the family here and being together. Best birthday present I could get.
That is so cool. Now, why Atlanta? Why SunTrust Park?
Well, it's our bucket list. We have been now to 28 of the 30 active Major League parks. We've been to Atlanta before, but it's a new park. We didn't get here last year, so when we saw the schedule come out in the fall, this is the trip we want to take to get here. Next year, we're planning to get to the White Sox in Kansas City and complete all the active Major League parks and then wait for the new ones.
And my favorite part about hanging out with all of you guys, look at this. I even got one of the faces too. So we're all just over here, guys, having a great time. I think I'm going to hang out with the Green Hot family for a little bit longer.
Just terrific stuff. That's cool. I've always wanted to do that. Fortunately, I'm in a line of work where I might get to a lot of these ballparks. But he's got 28 of 30. And this one, a new one. This is again the second year of it. What do you think?
Love it. Only 2 stadiums left.
For you?
No, not for
Oh, for them.
For them. He's got Chicago. You're going to get you. I'm not. Listen, it's not even
I
a
thought you were
bucket
talking
list.
about you.
No, me?
Yeah, you've probably been.
I think I've been to them all.
40.
I have to think about it, but I'm pretty sure I've been to them all.
Yeah, very cool. Appreciate them taking the time to share their story. Couple of quick outs on 2 line drives to Justin Bohr. As Ronald Acuna Jr. swings and misses. A ball and 2 strikes. Couple of fly balls out to Brinson in center field tonight for Acuna Jr. Dan Straley coming off a stressful 4th inning. They threw 20 pitches in that inning, left the bases loaded.
I'd say the last 7 or 8 much better than the first 12.
He gets the strikeout of Acuna, a 9-pitch 5th. He's got 5 Ks for Scoreless. Dan Straley and Matt Whistler both give a hand to a service member who's getting some well-deserved attention here at SunTrust Park. Both with 5 innings to this point. Not a lot of hits on the board. 5 total. 5 strikeouts for Straley, 4 for Whistler. All in all, a pretty evenly matched pitching line for both of these
innings.
I
agree. Well, Straley maybe had a little more stress in that 4th inning, but he recovered nicely and he breezed through the 5th.
He'll lead off the 6th inning now. Straley, Prado, and Real Muto in a scoreless ball game. This would be pitch number 75 for Matt Whistler. And it's a slider in there for a called strike. That's now 22 sliders. Just about 30% of the pitches he's thrown have been sliders. Fastball gets the black, and it's 0-2. Whistler called up for this start. I mentioned earlier the shuffling of the rotation, as the Braves had Max Fried all set up to pitch last night's ball game against the Chicago Cubs, but it got rained out as Straley is retired. Is the 5th strikeout of the night for the Atlanta Braves. This summer, the World Cup is coming to Fox and FS1. Every match live and over 300 hours of coverage. The world's biggest sporting event begins June 14th, only on Fox and FS1. Yeah, so Fried was all set to pitch yesterday's game. It got rained out, so there was some speculation. Well, is it going to be Fried pitching, or is it going to be Newcomb? It's his day to pitch. They said, well, okay, Newcomb's going to be bumped back a day, and it's not going to be Fried. It'll be Whistler. So it looks as though, at least to this point, the Braves have made the right decision. So we'll see Newcomb tomorrow night. We're both prepped and ready to go for Newcomb. You know what that means? Sleeping in tomorrow.
That's right. Well, 3rd time through for the Marlins. Hopefully they can make an adjustment against Whistler. Maybe pick out a few pitches towards the middle of the plate and see if they can't do some damage. He's sequenced well. I'd say it's basically the combination between the 4-seam fastball and his slider. And when you've been thinking slider, he's been going fastball. And when you're thinking fastball, he's been going slider.
There's a swing for Prado, and it's 1-2. I misspoke on the percentages before. It's 49% sliders and 42% 4-seam fastballs today for Whistler.
Yeah, no surprise there. We mentioned it at the outset.
Prado with a base hit into right field.
Oh, if that isn't classic Prado, I don't know what is. About making an in-game adjustment. Yeah, you can see the frustration the pitch before on the slider. So what's he do? You watch that back foot kind of come out, so he stays, keeps that front side strong and behind it. He just pokes it, a little backhand into right field. Good 2-strike approach.
Now JT Real Muto. 0 for 1 today, walked in the 1st. Identical line scores for the Marlins and the Braves here in the top of the 6th inning. No runs, 3 hits, no errors. Real Muto out to center field. Inciarte a long way back, and that one's off the wall. Prado getting waved around as it goes right back into center field. Real Muto into 3rd, a stand-up triple and an RBI. The Marlins are on the board, 1-0.
Now, most Major League Baseball parks, you can find one spot where outfield backup is hard to come by, and I think JT Real Muto just found it. We're going to show you why. Great swing, stays on it, drives it off the center field wall. Watch Inciarte. So he's chasing it. He's thinking he's got a shot at catching this ball all the way to the wall. And certainly understand it. Inciarte, one of the best defensive center fielders in the game. You see Whistler, he kind of knows what's about ready to happen. His backup support is nowhere to be found. Left fielder, right fielder. Again, long run to get to dead center field. It allows JT Realmuto to get himself into scoring position at third and drive in the game's first run.
His first triple this season. Could have used that a few nights ago when he was a triple shy of the first cycle in Marlins history, but I'm sure he'll take it now.
We're on the road, so it's usually how it goes, right?
Infield in against Starlin Castro. Ball and no strikes, and that one is over the head of Freeman, fair into right field. And Castro is going to take a turn toward second base. It gets all the way out to Markakis. An RBI double for Castro.
How about finding some pockets in the defense? My goodness. This is beautifully placed. I'm not sure Starlin will find a better base hit all season long. Freddie Freeman had to chase the ball into shallow right field. Watch this. Gets beat certainly a little bit. Stays inside the ball nicely. Keeps it fair down the right field line. Watch this. Markakis nowhere near it. Freeman's got to go get the ball.
This is just one of those classic cases where a guy is pitching well until he doesn't.
Yeah.
A single, a triple, a double, and the day is done for Matt Whistler. Brian Snitker makes the Florida Lottery call to the bullpen. Back to SunTrust Park in a moment. It also made this call to the bullpen, which is brought to you by the Florida Lottery. Don't miss your chance to play for the massive Powerball jackpot. Pick your lucky numbers and get your Powerball ticket at any Florida Lottery retailer. The Florida Lottery, it's your ticket. Claim it. Must be 18 or older to play. Play responsibly. Whistler out. Luis Gohara in, pitching in his third game this season. Small sample size, but a good ERA, low opponent batting average. And he comes into a situation with the Braves now down 2-0. Starlin Castro on second. A lefty-lefty matchup with Justin Bour at the plate.
Well, they like this young man. He's got a big arm.
First pitch swinging for Bour. And this is Albies in foul ground. He was over there on the shift and a bluff to third by Castro. He was already playing deep with the shift. 3 men on the right side, so was easily able to get about halfway down the right field line in foul ground to make that play. 2 away for Brian Anderson.
Gohara, four-seam fastball, changeup, slider. 95 to 97.
Gohara spent a little time on the disabled list with a left ankle sprain this year. Inside to Brian Anderson. single, a triple, a double for the Marlins here in the 6th inning. Scored the first 2 runs of this ball game, and there you see the most RBIs in the National League among rookies. Anderson one shy of Villanueva with the San Diego Padres, even with Colin Moran of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I think we would all agree he's been most impressive, done his best work with runners in scoring position. Game plans well, uses the middle of the field, goes the other way.
A .350 hitter with runners in scoring position. Best on the club. And the count even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Castro belongs to Whistler, went 5 1/3, gave up 5 hits, couple of walks, 5 strikeouts. Sweeping slider misses inside, and the count runs full. Dietrich on deck. The Braves bullpen that has a collective .355 ERA. That is 6th in the National League. Anderson in the air, left center field. Acuna has room, and that will do it. But the Marlins get on the board first tonight with a couple of runs in the 6th. They lead it 2-0. But the heart of the Braves order coming up: Freddie Freeman, Nick Markakis, and Tyler Flowers.
I'll tell you what, take a look at the last 2 starts. Just outstanding stuff. We told you many times throughout the last series in Miami against the Braves how good their offense is. We don't need to get into the numbers anymore. But the ability to change the game plan, look at it. You see it right there on the board. It's a great example. We've seen a little bit more on the fastball, about 1.5 miles more. But check out the changeups and the sliders. May 11th, his last start. 24 changeups, 27 sliders, so a few more sliders. But look tonight, a few more fastballs. We told you about the pop on it, and sliders to go along with it. He has not even hardly used the changeup tonight. It was a huge pitch for him in that May 11th start. He was using it at the bottom of the zone. It had good movement. But again, think about this. You'd say, okay, well, I'm going to go right back to that changeup again. Well, there's a healthy respect for one of the best offenses in baseball. Comes out tonight, he starts using his slider early, and it's been a fantastic pitch along with his fastball. Great stuff.
Well, that is the challenge, no matter if you're young or old, and Dan Straley probably not old, but you know, would classify as a veteran pitcher. You have to do that.
Right.
You can't just, no matter if you're successful or not, you can't just throw the same pitches in the same spots, in the same situations, if you're seeing the same team in back-to-back starts.
Well, and that's that relationship that I think some of the younger Marlins are going through and understanding how a pitching coach works, how it works here at the major league level. You're in a position now where you have to trust the people who know, the people who are around you. That's why they, you know, Derek Jeter on down talked about the veterans, their roles in the clubhouse. Don Mattingly talks about it all the time, being in a position to pass on knowledge. Dan Straley's got the ability tonight, as we've seen, to change his game plan and effectively against one of the best offenses in baseball. Do you think that you can just, you know, just because maybe you have a great fastball and you're a young starter in the major leagues and you throw 96, that you're just going to survive on 96 over and over and over again? It doesn't happen too often.
You're absolutely right. And one of the things that you mentioned is exactly what Dan Straley talked about when he was gearing up to get back in the rotation, about, you know, having been that younger guy who's on the bench listening, and now he's the one imparting wisdom to this young, for the most part, pitching staff.
Well, right. What would your first question be? Dan, why'd you change your game plan tonight? But boy, did it work.
Right. And I'm sure he would have a very intelligent reason as to why he did it. And you're seeing exactly why. It's a couple of ground balls and a couple of outs here in the sixth.
FPL is proud to support our first responders in good weather and bad. See how at FPL.com.
Yeah, he said his goal was to pass on experience the way the other guys did it for me.
You know, he understands and certainly maintains a healthy understanding and respect for the Atlanta Braves and their offense and what they're capable of doing. But that's the point. I think a young player would say, all right.
Popped up, foul ground. Real Muto will make the catch into the netting.
Snow cone.
How about that? Got it. Had it the whole time. A 9-pitch sixth for Dan Straley. In fact, Brian Snitker talking with the crew chief Jerry Meals, so hold that thought for a second. May want to take another look at it to see if the ball hit the netting before it fell into the glove of JT Real Muto. He was the closest one to. He might have been closer than the umpire. Another look.
Try and watch the net, see if we see any movement. Ooh, maybe. I can't tell, but.
Well, again, the call on the field is out.
Yeah,
so
does that constitute contact on the net? Because you do see the net move, but part of that's the ball, part of it's his glove, which is now connected after he makes the catch. You know, maybe the interpretation here is, you know, is that a secure catch with the ball, you know, as I said, snow cone, right? Watch, see the ball. Watch, it's in the glove. Now it hits the net. Is that still a catch? Is that a secure catch? Oh, I don't know. It's a little iffy. I didn't see that rotation from the other side.
Where's Mike Pereira? We get some NFL catch rulings on this, because the NFL catch rule is pretty cut and dry. Hashtag sarcasm. So yeah, I wonder how this is going to go. So again, Jerry Meals, the crew chief, is on the headsets right now talking with New York to figure this out, and this is probably a little bit of a, I would imagine, a little bit of a ground rule slash book rule kind of scenario over there with the third base umpire Ed Hickox as well.
Well, I'm not convinced it's a catch. I hope that it is, but I'm not sure it is. Here's why. The ball hits the net even when it's in the glove, and it adjusts it, and it would be interpreted as helping the ball. So in my mind, I'm not sure this is going to go the Marlins' way. We'll see. Hope I'm wrong. Let's watch one more time. See it hit the net? Okay. The ball's contacting the net right now, so you can make the argument that, you know, even with the tension on the net, that it's pushing the ball back into the glove.
You're right. You could also make the argument that Real Muto had it the whole time. Like, obviously, this is not the NFL.
Understanding a catch, right? That's the point.
Right. The ball doesn't rotate.
Is that it?
From what I can see.
But we do know this. Is that interior of the glove? Because to me, that's not interior of the glove. Although a catcher's glove is a little different than everybody else's.
All right. Well, fortunately, we don't have to play the guessing game anymore.
Foul ball.
They say foul ball.
Now, Dan Straley stayed out. So, there you go. Smart move on his part.
Clearly, it doesn't look like Don Mattingly is arguing the call. If he were, he would have gotten thrown out of the game by now. Just wants an explanation. It took about 2.5 minutes to figure out that call, or that out, was not recorded, rather. The grounds crew came out, did their job. They already dragged the infield. How often does that happen?
I think Dan Straley would take a ground ball right about now.
Nice and clean and flat.
That's right. No bad hops.
So about 3 minutes after Dan Straley thought he retired Tyler Flowers for the last out of the 6th on 9 pitches, he will deliver his 10th pitch of the inning, which is low, a ball and a strike. We keep saying, not that we're making excuses or anything, but just saying that, you know, guys that are coming back, whether it's Straley or Chen, you know, these guys are still kind of working their way back in a spring training type of scenario. Well, 4 innings and 4 innings in the first 2 starts for Dan Straley, 5 the last time, and trying to get through 6 in this, his 4th start.
He's well on his way. I'll say this, particularly against the right-handed hitters, he's done a nice job of commanding the inside corner, both effectively, getting a strike there at times and being off that inside corner, but still getting some swings.
2-2 to Flowers. Brinson in right center field will track it down on the track for out number 3. A few extra pitches in the inning after the overturned call, but a 1-2-3-6 nonetheless. They take on the first place Atlanta Braves. Time for our Toyota Inside Look. It's been a much different 2018 start than the last couple of seasons, as the Braves are doing exactly that, trusting the system. A lot of their youth, whether it's Albies or Acuna Jr. or what have you, their starting pitchers who have been terrific, off to a 26-16 mark at this point. The last couple of seasons through 42 games, 5th in the standings. Back in 2016, second last year, 6.5 back, but this year 10 over 500. And Brian Snitker has this team a half game clear of the Philadelphia Phillies, who are in action in St. Louis, or not technically in action yet, as that game is still in a delay in St. Louis. Derek Dietrich just to get out of the way of that fastball upstairs. 0 for 2 tonight for Dietrich. Dietrich, Rojas, and Brinson due up in the 7th. Bautista, foul territory near the dugout, and that will fall in foul. Tehran Guerrero begins to loosen. Well, here right now is where the benefit of Tyler Cloyd yesterday rears its head, and not its ugly head, by the way, just its head. Yesterday's game, Tyler Cloyd, 5 innings to save the bullpen in a game that the Dodgers were out in front of the Marlins. They had 2 big innings, 4-run third and a 3-run fourth. They won the game 7-0. Cloyd pitched the last 5 innings of that game. He got optioned down to AAA New Orleans yesterday, but now a 2-run game, 7th inning, and look at how the bullpen is set up.
We've got some options, some availability, some lefty-lefty matchups that you might like now that didn't exist before.
As we mentioned earlier, Junichi Tsuzawa designated for assignment after yesterday's game. Tyler Cloyd optioned AAA. Adam Conley up from AAA, along with Dylan Peters. As Dietrich swings and misses for the first out here of the 7th.
Gohara stayed with the slider throughout the sequencing against Dietrich.
That will bring up Miguel Rojas. Grounded into a double play in the 2nd. Walked and was caught stealing in the 5th. At the inside corner to Rojas. Gohara rocks and delivers in the dirt. 2nd inning of work for Gohara. 5 1/3 from the starter Matt Whistler tonight. Gave up 5 hits and the 2 runs. Braves took 3 of 4 from the Marlins in Miami. But it's the Marlins up a couple runs here in the 7th. After that series, the Marlins won 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. The Braves took 2 of 3 from the Cubs.
One constant this year is that when they get good starts, they're in just about every game. I know that's kind of standard when you talk about Major League Baseball, but so true for the Marlins this year. Their wins, ERA around a 2, and their losses about 3 times that.
It just proves the baseball adage that it starts with starting pitching, and frankly, that's what the coaching staff told us. If we've talked about it 1,000 times. You're not going to play these high-scoring games.
Right. They don't match up well with teams offensively like slugfest. They're not going to do that. They're not going to win those games. And they'll have their moments. They certainly had a few over the homestand where the offense will erupt, and there will be a big inning or 2, and much like the 6th inning, 3 consecutive hits. JT Realmuto drive off the center field wall kind of leads to everything, unlocks the offense a little bit.
Fifth full count that the Marlins have been in tonight. Dribbler to Bautista at 3rd, and he retires Rojas. Hit it out of the park with a family-friendly deal Sunday, May 27th, when the Marlins take on the Nationals at 1 p.m. Pick up the Aquafina Family 4-pack and score 4 tickets, 4 Nathan's all-beef hot dogs, and 4 Pepsi soft drinks or Aquafina waters. Starting at just $84. Get your tickets at marlins.com/offers. Here's Brinson. Takes a called strike. Brinson tonight 0 for 2. Fly ball and a ground out. Right center field, but Markakis is there for the 3rd out. Gohara has retired all 5 Marlins that he's faced. Stretch time at SunTrust Park. SunTrust Park here in Atlanta. It's the Marlins 2, the Braves nothing. That is one freaky looking cow, I got to tell you.
Staring at you.
It's just, it's not even staring at me. It's like it's staring through me.
Nah, it's staring at you. You called him freaky.
It is. The Chick-fil-A cow. He's like, he's intimidating me. It doesn't take much. Dan Straley seems to be intimidating the Braves hitters tonight. 6 innings of scoreless baseball, 3 hits and 5 strikeouts. Ender Inciarte, Jose Bautista, Johan Camargo for Atlanta here in the 7th inning. Inciarte struck out in the 2nd, was intentionally walked in the 4th. And it was in that 4th inning that Straley arguably did his best work. Walked the leadoff man, then a double. Got a pop up, and then the intentional walk to Inciarte loaded the bases. He got a strikeout and a fly out, inning over. A masterful job that inning for Straley as Inciarte offers. And it's 1-2.
And he was in a great rhythm before the 4th inning. Fell out of that rhythm early. Leadoff walk to Freeman. Markakis hit the double, was able to get back online, and since then has been just as good as he was the first 3 innings.
He's also been incredibly efficient in this ball game. Already the longest outing of his 2018 season. This, of course, only his 4th start. But he threw 102 pitches in 5 innings of work the last time against the Braves, as he gets the strikeout of Inciarte, the 6th tonight, and there is 1 away.
See the frustration in the eyes of many of these Atlanta Braves hitters. Watch the swing and watch the body language of Inciarte. See that frustration? That is, man, oh man, he's got run. Having a rough night. And generally speaking, it wasn't just Inciarte. It's been most of these Braves hitters. They've come up empty. Sometimes you can watch a game and you can tell what a hitter's sitting on or what they're thinking. Like in that situation right there, Jose Bautista, I'm going to swing at this first fastball, and he got a slider.
Rojas deep in the hole, strong throw. Bohr kept his toe on the bag. Nice play. Nice job by the shortstop Rojas and the first baseman Bohr. 2 down here in the 7th.
Yeah, no better feeling than your defense picking you up. But I'll tell you what, Miguel Rojas made this look easy. Jose Bautista out by what, 3-4 steps? Holy cow. Show off that arm, Miguel. Yes, sir, nice pick. JB at first base. Well done.
Is that type of play, as you see the fielding percentage leaders at shortstop in the National League, is that the type of play that you look at and say that is a big league shortstop play? Like, that's how shortstops are judged.
Right. That's where you start grading, is when you start to get away from the norm. It's not just the routine play, the 2 or 3 hopper, the short hop that's in front of you. When you watch at least in my personal opinion, and this is not coming from a shortstop, so take it with a grain of salt. But my opinion is you see the athleticism, and that's the way we have to watch the game of baseball. There's so many things about this game where athleticism is defined in different ways. But for a shortstop, in fact, I said it a little earlier in the broadcast, that we get to see more of Brian Anderson's athleticism in the outfield because he gets to run. Like the outfielders are more like wide receivers. The infielders, I have always looked at it like this, kind of like the running backs. Every now and again, they're going to break one to the outside and show you how good they can be. And that play right there is truly the athleticism. Good 4 or 5 steps in the hole, back to the backhand. Everything's got to be perfect, and then the strong throw across the diamond.
And a nice backhanded pick by Bohr at first to get out number 2.
I tell you, most infields, this is a base hit. Nice job. And well done. Close ball game, 2-run game. Base runners mean everything right now.
2-2 to Camargo. And now the count runs full. Pinch hitter extraordinaire Preston Tucker is on deck.
He'd really like for this at bat to end here. He has been on a roll, pinch hitting.
Just the second full count of the night for Dan Straley. And it ends with a line drive to Anderson in right. 7 great innings from Dan Straley. Innings of wonderful work tonight for Dan Straley in his 4th start here in 2018.
And it continues to improve, right? Start after start, better, 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 best. I'll tell you what, the challenge tonight is so impressive. 98 pitches, 7 innings, 3 hits, no earned runs. Awesome. Here's the deal. We've talked about it all night long. When you face a team in back-to-back starts, not easy to do.
Well, it looks like it was going to be Maben, and it may still be, but the Braves are going to make a pitching change. The Florida Lottery call to the bullpen here to begin the 8th. Rather soon for the Atlanta Braves, perhaps as soon as tomorrow, as Cameron Maben will in fact pinch hit for Dan Straley, as Peter Moylan is in out of the Braves bullpen. Swings at the first pitch and comes up empty.
Yeah, 20th game for Moylan this season. Sinker slider. It was about 90 miles an hour, a little different arm angle.
Side saddle, not necessarily down under, even though that's where he's from, Australia. Going back to the well on that one.
You can't retread my joke. I threw that out last series. Well, they were sitting on Moylan against this matchup with Cameron Maben as soon as he was announced. 0 for 9 against him. How about that behind him?
All right, that works.
It's pure athleticism right there. See, I would have walked right into that. I'd be on the ground right now with the ball in my calf.
I've had the pleasure of interviewing Peter Moylan before, and I was the cliched doofus who's like, "Hey, can you say put another shrimp on the Bari?"
How did he respond?
He could not have been more uninterested. It was great. He strikes out Maben. Let's check in with Jessica Blaylock.
Hey, Paul, we just saw Dansby Swanson. He's doing something really cool for Braves fans this season through an initiative called ATL, which stands for All Things Loyal. Dansby features an Atlanta staple at every Friday home game for the Braves. So tonight, there was a food truck from the varsity. Swanson covered the cost and invited fans to come and hang out and enjoy a hot dog or hamburger. And guys, he even made an appearance to say hi to everyone.
That's awesome stuff. As that one is outside to Martin Prado, of course, a first-round pick of the Diamondbacks back in 2015, but came over to the Braves inside of a year from being drafted. We can certainly tell that story in greater depth when he is activated. Again, figures to be at some point in this series. But, you know, not just playing for the Braves now, but, you know, a guy who is fairly close to this area. You saw that from Kennesaw, Georgia, graduated from Marietta High School, went to Vanderbilt, grew up a Braves fan. Now a chance to play for his favorite club growing up, and perhaps most importantly, giving back to not only his community as an Atlanta Brave, but his community as someone who grew up around here. Three balls and no strikes to Martin Prado, who singled and scored back in the 6th inning. He takes inside for ball 4.
Prado on base 2 times tonight out of the top spot in the lineup. Started with a 2-strike base hit in the 6th. Got everything going as far as the scoring. Draws the walk here on 4 pitches.
Now it's time for Lowe's whole team together as we focus in on the Miami Marlins. 40 infield hits. That is 3rd in the National League. Starlin Castro has 11 and a couple of speedsters. No disrespect to Starlin, of course, but JP Shuck and JT Realmuto. Just put the ball in play. Make the defense work. In a day and age where the strikeout is so prevalent and people say, well, an out is an out. Not really. Put the ball in play. Sometimes you don't have to square it up to get a hit. That's the moral of that story. Ball and no strikes to JT Realmuto. Right back to Moylan. Throws to second and on to first. Second double play turd tonight by the Braves. A 1-4-3 DP. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Marlins up 2-0. How about Matt Whistler called up to get the start tonight up against Dan Straley, making his 5th start of the season. No scoring until the 6th inning. Whistler was really good, but it all got started with a Martin Prado base hit into right field. Shortly after that, JT Realmuto straightaway center field. Even the 2-time Gold Glover Ender Inciarte couldn't get to it. That brought home Prado, gave the Marlins a 1-0 lead, and then with Realmuto on at 3rd, a perfectly placed floater over the head of Freddie Freeman scored Realmuto easily. A 2-run 6th and a 2-0 lead for the Marlins as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning. 7 tremendous innings from Dan Straley, 3 hits, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts. Cameron Maben stays in the ballgame. He moves over to left field. And on the mound is Kyle Bearclaw in his 21st game this season. ERA well south of 2. He'll face Preston Tucker off the bench for the Atlanta Braves.
And 6 for his last 11 pinch hit appearances. 6 hits.
But on the ground to the right side where the Marlins had 3 guys lined up. 1 out here in the 8th.
A perfect start to the 8th inning. Kyle Bearclaw has been locked in of late. It's his 5th appearance. Last 4 appearances scoreless. Picked up a strikeout 3 of his last 4. How about a 1.20 ERA last 15 outings?
Well, you go back to the first, what do you want to call it, 2-3 weeks of the season. Starting pitchers had yet to really get into a rhythm. So the guys at the back end of the bullpen were not lined up in situations where they were, you know, ideally slated to be. But now that the starters have gone deeper into ball games on a much more consistent basis, the guys who are supposed to be the big arms at the back of the game are in the right spots to succeed. And Berklaw is in the center of all that. Ahead in the count, 0-2 to Ozzie Albies, who is 0 for 2 in this ball game.
I'll tell you what, I like this spot. I know Berklaw gets the 8th inning under almost, you know, all circumstances. Close ball game, chance to get this thing to the 9th. The idea is this: Dan Straley's done a fantastic job tonight. What's his arsenal? What have we seen from him? Fastball, slider almost exclusively, and a few changeups. That's Kyle Berklaw.
Yeah.
With a little bit more. So we talk about some complications for the Atlanta Braves. They haven't been able to get their offense going tonight. Bring in, ideally, and I think this decision gets made prior to, but you've got to love it. A little bit more on the fastball, a little harder slider.
Final line on Straley. Again, 7 innings through 98 pitches, 61 for strikes. Farthest he has gone into a ball game this year. 4 in the first 2, 5 in his third, and up to 7 innings in this one. But a very efficient 7 innings for Straley tonight. And Bohr steps on the bag. Time for our Chevrolet Minor League Spotlight. Check in on Eric Campbell. Has a 20-game on-base streak, hitting .440 with 7 doubles and 2 home runs in that span. Of course, played with the New York Mets at times from 2014 to 2016. But right now is certainly cleaning up in AAA for New Orleans. Berklaw's retired the first 2 he has faced. Dan Straley retired the last 11 that he faced. Outside to Acuna Jr. 1-2, or 1-1 rather. AJ Minter, Sam Freeman, a couple of lefties loosening for the Braves. Acuna Jr. struck out back in the 5th inning. Couple of flyouts to center field prior to that. Now in the air, right field, heading toward the seats. Long run for Anderson, but he will have no play. It's 2-2. To Rojas at short. Strong throw, close play, got him. And Acuna Jr. immediately looks at the dugout and says, take another look.
I think he's right. JV's glove close around, and even from the backside, it's still open, fanned open as he's hitting the bag.
Showing it on the big board. Crew Chief Jerry Meals on the left. Gabe Morales, first base umpire, on the right. The man who made the call. I find it interesting that, you know, we and the 27,000 people that are here tonight and the umpires can all look at the big board. But the umpires that are here, those two guys right there, they don't have the final say. They don't have a say.
No.
They can't even like get on the horn and say,
go to New York.
You know what? Sorry guys, I screwed it up, or I think I'm right, or whatever. It's completely out of their hands.
They've got a few more angles. Well, and it should be that way because I think you may have some arguments. Wow. There you go.
Alrighty.
Not enough to overturn.
Or hey, they could call New York and brag that they got it right. I don't know. The call stands. Not
Don't
enough
blame
to
me.
overturn the call. Exactly. Through 8, 2-0.
From Straley tonight, and he said that ever since his return, his effectiveness and command has been getting better, but what really impressed him tonight was that Straley was able to maintain his velocity. They asked him to be more aggressive in the zone, and he was also able to do that tonight. Nieves said that his changeup and his slider played really well against this team, and guys, this is the last thing he said to me in the conversation. The stuff was first, and then he did a great job commanding it.
Jess, thanks so much. Yeah, there is certainly a lot to like about the start this evening for Dan Straley. And I'm sure Juan Nieves happy with what he has seen. 7 strong innings, a clean 8th for Kyle Bearclaw, and now Sam Freeman out of the Braves bullpen for the 23rd time this year. Will face Starlin Castro, Justin Bohr, and Brian Anderson here in the 9th inning with the Marlins up 2-0 in the opener of this 3-game series. Castro lines a base hit into left field. Another multi-hit effort for Starlin Castro.
Watch every out-of-market regular season game live at home, in the office, or on the go with MLB.tv. Your subscription includes MLB at Bat Premium, allowing you to watch live baseball on your favorite supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.tv for details.
9th multi-hit game this year, or second, excuse me, try that again. Take 2. 13th multi-hit game this year for Starlin Castro, as it's ball 1 to Justin Bohr.
You would really love to add a run here.
Popped up behind home plate. Will Flowers have room? Yes, he will. 1 away.
The reason I say that, we're going to go through the heart of the Atlanta Braves lineup in the 9th. Freeman, Markakis, and Flowers scheduled to hit.
Looks like it will be against Brad Ziegler. Here's Brian Anderson now. Singled in the second, grounded into a fielder's choice in the fourth, and flew out in the sixth. Another base hit for Anderson. You go back to April 20th. Entering today, a .293 average in that span, and at this point, a 1-for-3 night.
A good fastball by Freeman. He's got a good arm. 95, 96 miles an hour on the four-seamer. He'll sink it at times. Slider and a splitty.
After a double switch, the pitcher spot due up next. Yadiel Rivera in the on-deck circle. Grounded to second. They get one, and they get two. Well, now 3 double play ground balls tonight by the Braves defense. We'll see Brad Ziegler in the ninth. Affairs, nothing to hide by Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center, in pursuit of your cure, and by your South Florida Honda dealers. Paul Severino, Todd Hollinsworth back with you. A 2-0 lead for Brad Ziegler to try to protect against the Atlanta Braves. Time for the Coors Light refreshing finish. Take you back to last week against these very same Atlanta Braves. Got the ground ball to first base. And after that, he got Ryan Flaherty to ground out to Rivera at short. And then it was Ozzie Albies lining out. And that was the 100th career save for Brad Ziegler. Now working on the next 100. Let's see. We'll face a tough part of this Braves order. The toughest part of this deep Braves lineup. Freddie Freeman, Nick Markakis, and Tyler Flowers here in the 9th inning. And 2-0 to Freeman. Lined out to right field in the first, walked in the fourth, and grounded out to Bohr in the 6th. Lines it on a hop to Rivera. Over to Rojas at first. A nice play on the backhand by Yadiel, and there is one out.
Good to see him in the ball game. Challenged right away. huge first out.
The WB Mason Marlins Live post-game show. Jessica Blaylock live from the field here at SunTrust Park. We'll hear from Don Mattingly. I'm sure one of the topics of conversation will be the amazing 7 innings of baseball tonight from Dan Straley. And tonight looked a lot like the guy who was in the mix for the opening day start, before ultimately having a little forearm issue that has since gone away. But his 5th start of the season, so far his best. A ball and a strike to Nick Markakis. Markakis a couple of hits tonight, singled in the 1st, doubled in the 4th, and grounded out in the 6th inning. Markakis with 20 multi-hit games this season. Line just out of the reach of Rivera and into center field. A 1-out base hit for Markakis. His 6th 3-hit game of the year, and the Braves will have the tying run at the plate.
Well, line drives from line to line tonight. Stays inside the baseball, drives it back through the middle. Short, quick swing. Why he's amongst the league leaders. Batting average, hits.
Tyler Flowers 2 for 6 in his career against Brad Ziegler digs in. One of those two, a long ball off of Ziegler. That the strike on the black. 1-1. Flowers 0 for 3 tonight, thanks in part to a nice play by Rojas at short back in the 1st inning. Realmuto sets up way away, and Ziegler hits the spot. Strike 2.
Well, if he stays right there, he's either going to get a ground ball or the strikeout he's searching for. Flowers giving up on that pitch.
Tries it again, misses low. 2-2. On the ground to second. Castro, Rivera, Rojas, ball game. Brad Ziegler gets the double play to end it, and the Marlins shut out one of the best offenses in baseball, 2-0 to open up this 3-game series at SunTrust Park.
Well, he stayed there, he goes there, and there's your ground ball. Gets it done. Fresh catch of the day, why not? A couple of them. Nice way to end this baseball game. I'll tell you what, shutting out the Atlanta Braves in Atlanta, not an easy thing to do. They're one of the best teams in baseball, have a great offense, but this was a Marlins win all the way through.
A 2-0 victory for Miami. Marlins Live post-game show coming up right after the break.